And now we're back to the clown prince of the sports world, Stephen A. Smith. Now, the clown prince himself loves being a clown prince because there's no other reason for this to even be transpiring. When you listen to the dialect and you listen to how this person speaks towards other people, or whatever might be on the table or the horizon, you never see anything of positivity. It's always tear down. And it's always tear down of the African American athlete. It is. And it's not changed. Everyone's like, oh, he doesn't do that no more. Yes, he does. One moment he's talking about Colin Kaepernick is this champion of champions. Then he says there's racial inequality in the NFL. Yo, he don't take a stance or anything to fight against it. Then he says that the Democrats takes blacks for granted. Then he turns around and says, we gotta get in here and support Black Lives Matter. And you were spearheading all of these things. And you wanted to speak on black crime. Then you wanted to destroy the media for pushing Black Lives Matter but ignoring gang violence. But you were only targeting black media, not white media, who ignores Black Lives Matter but highlights gang violence, right? Now, black on black violence, let's speak on that for a moment. Because a young black Chicago native who was living in Chicago, he found that your remarks were repeatedly offensive, it's dangerous, tragic, and just outright disturbing. And he wrote a letter. His name is Caleb Conway. He wrote a letter to ESPN, the bosses of ESPN, and gave the reasons why you should be fired. The letter was shared to me. He let it be known what you really stood for. Caleb Conway is a scholar, straight A student his entire life. And this person has a degree in literature and is very aware of what's going on around him and his environment in which he lives in. And he basically stated that you must be fired from ESPN right now because you have proven time and time again that you will not stop targeting and misrepresenting the black community. And you have went as far as to show complete disregard for the opinions of black Americans. Just when many believed it couldn't get any worse, you went on your first take show and you insinuated that black people don't care about themselves. They almost give folks a license to kill them. In a statement about police brutality and black on black violence, Stephen A. Smith had detailed an even bigger problem than police brutality, and it's black on black violence. What? And anybody who disagrees with Charles Barkley terms and what he has to say, I can just echo his sentiments about what they can kiss because they're full of it. See, it's apparently, clear to everyone here that Stephen A. Smith had the time to tell black people to kiss his butt and that they're full of it, but conveniently left out that according to the FBI numbers from 2014, the black on black homicide rate is only 8% higher than the white on white homicide rate. And according to the most recent census data, black Americans are 2.5 times are likely as white Americans to be shot and killed by police officers. It's pretty apparent that Chicago is a popular talking point for Stephen A. Smith. What is even more apparent is that Stephen S. Smith does not know, does not care that the cop on black murder rate in the city between 2009 and 2013 was only 14.7%, less than black on black national average. How does one man come to develop this much ego and unmitigated gall to allow oneself to go up on national television and spew such half truths and lies? And then insult the people he just spreaded misinformation about. Throughout the past 17 years in Chicago, hundreds of African Americans have been shot by the police disproportionately more than any other group. But only 2 officers have faced trial for a shooting death. This obviously is a follow up question to how can Stephen A. Smith compare two types of different violent crimes when one of them rarely even leads to a trial, let alone a conviction. That's right, he can't. Speaking on subjects Stephen A. Smith is obviously not knowledgeable enough to speak on. He went on a episode in an explosive tirade about black professional athletes and marijuana use. I don't see the white guys getting called out for smoking weed. You put a shot of all these guys smoking weed. They got busted for it. All of them, practically all of them. Black, 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 black. How tragic would it be if a police officer watching first take believe a word of what Stephen A. Smith is saying to be true, since it came from a black man's mouth, consciously and subconsciously, starting pulling blacks over more often than those from other groups. According to a 2013 survey, extremely in it, police records show that for years, black drivers tend to be less likely than white drivers to turn up with guns or drugs. Let me run that by you again, people. According to a 2013 survey, okay? 2013 survey. Extremely in it. Police records show that for years, black drivers tend to be less likely than white drivers to turn up with guns or drugs when searched at traffic stops. At the same time, black drivers are 3 times more likely than white drivers to be subject to these searches. This is precisely why Stephen A. Smith must be fired. He is dangerous and he's unknowingly or not on the date he made that argument for racial profiling for black folks. It seems that it's an endless supply of statements made by Stephen A. Smith where he makes an argument built on half truths, logical fallacies, and utter disrespect for the very people he so often speaks for. I hereby ask ESPN then, for how much longer will you allow this man to attack, spread lies on the black community? For how much longer will our image be unjustly dragged through the mud by this man? For how much longer must black people sit idly while Stephen A. Smith attempts to make his best justification for his double standards of black people face in this country? I can't help but to think it's okay for him to trash the black community to ESPN. But I still remember when that very same company suspended Stephen A. Smith for his domestic violence remarks. I guess what I'm really trying to figure out is, why does ESPN treat black people differently? Before this petition is concluded, I would like to address Stephen A. Smith himself. You once said you did not care who in the black community disagreed with you on a particular issue. Most recently, you made a statement I could not begin to describe how disgusting and dangerous it was. You said, but when you don't do that and you don't care about yourself, you almost give folks a license not to care about you either. As wrong as they may be, this is a license they give you when you don't take care of your own. Sadly, instead of addressing the systematic racism African Americans face in this country, so much so that many have given up their lives and no longer even care about themselves, you choose to argue that black people give others a license to murder them. Well, Mr. Smith, I would like to inform you that I don't even have a modicum of respect for your opinions on the subject matter. I don't know what world you live in, but in this one, those who find it hardest to love themselves, and oftentimes the ones who need it the most, especially when many of those same people are African American, who even when unharmed are 5 times as likely as unharmed white Americans to be shot and killed by a police officer. We, the signees of this petition, are calling for your immediate termination. If you ever did have any dignity, self respect, and honor, you would resign immediately. If you choose not to do so, that is your right. Just know that we will not cease, not rest, till the days of Stephen Anthony Smith on ESPN First Take are a distant memory. Wow. Let that sink in, people. Let that sink in for a second. And then you look at the person named Stephen A. Smith. They'll try to say we did something wrong. We're just going over the actual letter, the petition letter, that they turned in to ESPN, and it was shared to me. Tell me where I told a lie, because that letter echoes almost everything we said and thought about Stephen A. Smith. Everything that you guys probably have said and read about Stephen A. Smith. Now, I want to say shouts out to Kwame Brown Bus Life. Don't forget to support his channels that he got. Damn D, Beef, Ticket TV, Dreamers Pro, the Pivot Podcast. You have Armando Black TV. Welcome to HD IITV. Jag Sports with Jose Rodriguez. There's plenty of us. One Crack News. We all doing our things here. You know, everybody who super chatted and hit the super thanks button, thank you. Those who subscribe, like, share, subscribe, you know, it's all in the banner. We appreciate all the love and support. But this man here has been egregiously doing a Mike Wilburn. And unfortunately, there's people like him, like Charles Barkley, who see only black people as the problem. They don't look at the root cause of the situation. They don't look and say, okay, this is happening, but why? Why this doesn't make sense? Why does this pattern of behavior keeps existing, keep moving in this way? It doesn't make sense. Something's got to give, you would think, right? You would say This isn't right. Something's got to give. Why isn't it giving? Because this person here only sees black in the negative light. He don't see it as anything positive. When blacks do anything positive, it must be because whites have allowed it. All credit is given to someone else. So if any black person is given any credit, it's not a black person that normally stands on their own. It's always a black person who toes the line, who does what he's told. Those are the ones they like. You know, LeBron James is, oh, he's the pedestal. That's who you should look after. That's who you admire. But not that no good Kyrie Irving. Oh no, Kyrie gonna do his own thing. He don't bother nobody. He ain't committing no crimes, but he might as well committed a crime to me. Not doing what he was told. So then you get the other ones, the other black folks, to speak negatively against him because they do what they told. And they don't like it when a black don't do what he told. He gonna do what he wanna do. That ain't right. So we gotta stand on his head. So all I know is that this situation is just starting to grow teeth. There's a lot of people are waking up now. And they're starting to see like, hey, nobody hating on this dude. This dude is really, really messed up in the brain. People don't realize that white on white crime, black on black crime, that they call black on black crime, brown on brown crime, if you look at it, every race and nationality in this world is mostly killed by someone of their own race. But when it's they want to highlight it's black on black. White people mostly kill white people. Mexicans mostly kill Mexican or Hispanic. Asians mostly kill Asians. Okay, that's how the cycle goes. And it's like that if you look up the statistics, they have it. And that is proven. But they highlight black versus black on black crime and actually says this in the news. But you have to remember, black people, the news were never designed for you. They're not ever broadcasting to you. Never was. So you never had to go to the news to get your news. The other news and what the news main job was not to inform, it was to misinform and to spread fear. That's all it was. It was a systematic way to control masses of people by using communication from one spot only, being one location and can control millions and millions of people. The news. Don't go outside today. It's going to be a scorcher. Stay at home. It's really violent out there in that area. It was crime everywhere. They control people's minds. If you keep showing people being violent on TV, 8 dead today in a gang war in this area. Why are they doing this? And then they go and show, and just yesterday, 25 dead. In this one, it was 13 dead. They give you no details, no information, nothing. They just tell you about death. Then they be like, well, we're going to take it to a lighter note. Let's go to Susie. Susie, we're here with Daisy. And Daisy be this little white girl, red hair, freckles, and she's holding a flower. She's picking flowers with her mom today. Daisy loves playing with her mom and then her grandma. They used to have this tradition when they were kids. Yeah, we used to come out and pick these flowers in the yard, and now My granddaughter and my daughter are doing it with me, and it's so touching. These things aren't made for you. The news ain't made for you. They show those inspirational stories that people are like, why are they showing this? What this got to do with anything? What is it? This ain't news. So these things are done to only show you in a negative light. And it's designed to keep them in fear of you. Spread fear. So the only way most of these white people, they go through their whole life without dealing with blacks at all. So when they see black people, they get fearful because they see what they see on the news. And when you got someone like Stephen A. Smith backing it all up, and they were like, well, he's black and he's doing it. It is a disservice to the people because you have a platform to spread the truth. You just choose not to because you want to do as you told. You don't know how to hold the line. So, on that note alone, we key to music. Shouts out to the real out there that's really doing it. The real media, the real people that's out there holding it down. Continue the grind. Continue doing everything you're doing. And yes, I will be signing a petition to have him terminated. Deuces.